No, it's no secret that Manchester City need a new fullback. We're very much in the era of physicality these days, and since Kyle Walker has unfortunately moved on to AC Milan, it looks like it will be a permanent deal as well. I think it's fair to say City probably need a new first choice right back, and we can maybe do with a left back too of a more traditional value than 𝙄𝙬𝙨𝙩𝙬𝙧, especially given that Nathan Ake is getting a bit older too. So I thought today I'd bring some options to the table of different positions, different takes on the fullback role out wide that give City a little bit more versatility, because I think we really do need a bit more versatility. I tweeted the other day what I would give for two traditional overlapping fullbacks, and the amount of people that replied saying very similar things. I think we've been starved of it for an awful long time at City, and when you look at our current options with Kyle Walker gone and past his best, unfortunately, you look at 𝙏𝙬𝙨𝙩𝙬𝙚, Ake, O'Reilly, Rico Lewis, Nunes who play there, and I don't think you've got anyone who's truly great as a fullback. Look, 𝙄𝙬𝙨𝙬𝙬𝙧, of course, is very close to that. He might just be that, and there's a mistake or two in his game right now, but he's a brilliant young player who'll go to the very, very, very top. I'm sure by the end of his career we'll talk about him as one of the greats, but he isn't a traditional overlapping fullback, and he's a centre back before he was a fullback. Nathan Ake, getting older, might even move on. Nico O'Reilly isn't really a fullback, probably play in midfield eventually. Rico Lewis, look, I like the lad, but there's definitely question marks about his physicality and defensive abilities. And Nunes looks like a midfielder who's been put at right back because he can run up and down the pitch. So I think when you look at it, we do need a little bit of versatility. So today I'm going to go through some players who could bring that. If you like this kind of content, please give the video a like and please subscribe. It isn't just the usual match reactions on the channel right now. I don't know which videos I put out as I'm recording these because I recorded them all on the same day, but there's a whole bunch of different content on the channel, different lists, different discussions. I hope you enjoy them too. So we're going to start firstly with a guy who's just off the back of a fantastic game in the Carabao Cup final, Tino Livramento, the 22-year-old Newcastle fullback. I put his position down as a right back, but he can play the left back too. English youth international, signed from Southampton a couple of years back. Prior to that, a Chelsea youth product. I really like this guy. I've wanted him at City for years actually. I've got the tweets to back it up, and I've seen him at youth level, and he's a cracking player. Look, the Carabao Cup final, of course, shot his profile up absolutely massively. He was brilliant in that game. 100% of his duels won, 100% of his tackles won, 100% of his successful dribbles. Playing left back up against the most informed player in the Premier League right now. It was the first ever time Mo Salah was limited to 0 shots and 0 chances created in a game where he played 90 plus minutes. That is ridiculous. He plays on the right, he plays on the left. Tino Livramento looks like, what was it? I've forgotten the song. Something about making Salah look naff either way. I'll let Newcastle fans sing that one for you. But I really like this guy. He's an absolute steam train of a footballer. One of those guys who seems to get faster the more he gets going. And I really like that take on a fullback. We've seen it with Kyle Walker plenty. Not quite Kyle Walker pace, but still absolutely electric. And with the ball too, which is important. He can run with the ball. He's got that huge, long stride, incredibly athletic, gets forward, he's aggressive, he attacks space, especially in transition. And he's a powerful runner that will give you everything out on the pitch. And he can play left back and right back. He costs an arm and a leg, but Tino Livramento is a cracking footballer who I'd very much be happy to see in a Manchester City shirt, even if he is a little bit injury prone, unfortunately. Look, if you want something a little bit different, Jeremy Frimpong is a name that's been thrown around an awful lot, pretty much to every major European club, and for good reason. The 24-year-old Bayer Leverkusen, Dutch international, he's not really a right back. He can play there, but I think it's fair to say he's more of a right wing back, more of a right midfielder. But I'm putting him on this list because we've been linked to him, and because he could provide something a little bit different once again if we need a little bit more going forward from the right hand side, and we have lacked creativity. I'm a big fan of Frimpong. I've actually watched him an awful lot for City's youth sides for years. I was devastated when we let him go to Celtic. I was like, what are we doing? I thought he was cracking for Celtic. He played a couple of seasons there, not for Celtic, sorry, cracking for our under-18s. So much heart, so much ability. He played on the left and on the right for City's youth sides and was brilliant, relentlessly aggressive, only pocket size, but so much pace, so much aggression, and he's become more of an attacker. Bayer Leverkusen, 29 goals, 40 assists, so that's 69 contributions in 182 games, so basically just over 1 in 3, a goal or assist in every 3 games basically. Really, really aggressive. He's got that homegrown pedigree as well as a City youth trained player. Very likeable lad, very aggressive, very tricky dribbler. He's more of a right winger these days, so maybe the position bit on screen, ignore that, but he can play there. If you want a attacking genius, maybe Jeremy Frimpong will be the man for you. And he come at a decent price, apparently, around 40 million quid or something like that. We will see. Next on the list is a guy who's absolutely exploded this season, and I've got a lot to say about him. Milos Kerkez, the 20-year-old Hungarian international who plays for Iraola's flying Bournemouth side, and he is the epitome of a flying fullback. Look, if you want a young Antonee Robinson, this guy is basically him. Since joining from AZ Alkmaar in the summer 2023, he's been basically an ever-present for Bournemouth. I think he's played in every single game this season as well. And a lot of the success for Iraola's like high, intense, pressing, hard-working ethic comes from people like Kerkez. He's such a vital role in that side. He features in the top 10 Premier League players this season for distance covered, 278 kilometres. That's 10th. And he's 50th in the total sprints. That's 616 sprints. Only 5 players have covered more distance while sprinting than he has. That's absolutely ridiculous. He's covered 11 kilometres sprinting. His energy levels have seen him overlap more than any other player in the Premier League this season. 237 overlaps in the Premier League. I want an overlapping fullback so desperately, and this guy can do it for fun. Only Antonee Robinson comes close, the Fulham fullback, and that's 223. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And it's not that he's just a runner either. He's been integral to their build-up at the same time. Of all the players who played at least 500 minutes in the league for the club for Bournemouth, only 𝙗𝙬𝙨𝙩𝙬𝙧, the very talented centre-back, has averaged more open play sequence involvements per 90 than Kerkez. 𝙗𝙬𝙗 with 41.6, Kerkez with 39.9. Brilliant. Against Spurs, when he played them recently, it was only 𝙗𝙬𝙗 who had more touches of the ball than Kerkez as well. 𝙗𝙬𝙗 had 67, Kerkez 55, so which basically shows that he's very much trusted on the ball when they play their possession game. Of course, he got that assist against City. It wasn't just a deep cross, it was a cutback when he beat Foden for pace, and he squared it to Semenyo, who opened, of course, the scoring against us. Basically, if you want a young Robertson, someone like him, and I'm desperate for someone like him, I think he's a cracking footballer, and I'd be very happy to see him in a Manchester City shirt. If you want a more Guardiola type footballer, one that probably happened, the 25-year-old Italian international Andrea Cambiaso, who can play right back or left back. Look, this guy would be an absolute prototype Guardiola fullback, sorry. It seems like this is going to happen for around 60 million in the summer. It looks like it was about to be done, but they couldn't quite agree on the deal. There's going to be a January premium, but we put it off to the summer. I think this will happen for what it's worth. And I think he'll end up playing on the right, despite playing on the left, primarily for Juventus. I think he could become one of the best fullbacks in the world, actually, the way that Cancelo did at City. He's a bit more conservative than Cancelo, but still a very incredibly impressive attacker. I say more conservative just because he's not a flamboyant number 7 left back stroke right back. You know, he's more of a traditional fullback that way. He's not going to score goals from 30 yards in the top corner with a trivela or whatever, but he's very two-footed. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. He's a match made in heaven with Pep, basically. If you wanted your prototypical inverted fullback, it would be Andrea Cambiaso. He was made for that inverted role. Versatile, could play in midfield if he wanted to, press resistant, a creative, intelligent passer, a problem solver, a very tactically adept footballer who Guardiola will absolutely love and hone into a very complete player. He was a good size as well, strong runner, about 6 foot. Cambiaso would tick many boxes and be a cracking player for Manchester City. I'd really like to see him at City. I think he'd be great, and I think that one is one that's going to happen. But if it's not him, what about someone? It's a bit of a sort of a left field choice, a right field choice, I guess. But Daniel Munoz at Crystal Palace, look, once again, he is more of a wild card shout here, if I'm being honest, but he's taken the Premier League by storm this season. He's been absolutely excellent. 8 years old, so not young, Colombian, intensely aggressive, a wild player, a wild card choice, but a wild player. Definitely more of a wing back like Frimpong, but at the same time, he's a very adept, very aggressive defender. More tackles than any wide player in the Premier League and takes an awful lot of shots too. Someone like Kerkez, for example, averages 1.4 tackles per 90. Daniel Munoz, 3.6. It's ridiculous. No one's like him in the Premier League that way. So incredibly aggressive defensively, but also going forward. 10 goals and assists in all competitions this season. 6 in the last 8 matches, which is ridiculous. He's a box crasher from out wide, while also does his defensive duties with no wide player, once again making more tackles in the Premier League. And that's something we'd lost, of course, from Kyle Walker in terms of that aggression with the pace and the defensive acumen. But he's different to Kyle Walker in the fact that he likes to get into the area. I think he's got the 4th most shots of any Crystal Palace player. Look at someone like Tyreek Mitchell on the left. He's got 11 shots. This guy's got 29. And he'd be a decent price too. Look, maybe he's not world class, but if you want a reliable fullback option, maybe someone like Munoz would be a decent bet. Likewise, Ola Aina, once again, 28 years old, so not the most inventive option, but he'll be available potentially on a free transfer. He's had a pretty nomadic career, if we're being honest. 2 years at Forest, not quite great last year, but this year they're brilliant. One of the best teams in the Premier League. He came via Fulham on loan, via Torino, via Chelsea, so he's been around for an awful long time, and he's a big part of that suffocating defensive structure that Nuno's had over at Forest, and he's been great there. I think he's won the ball. Tongue-tied. He's won the ball back in his own defensive third more than any other player in the top 5 leagues, which is ridiculous. 105 recoveries, 13 more than the next best. So if you want a cheap option, and let's be honest, this rebuild is going to be really, really expensive. You want to get all these big money signings in, and you want to get a guy who's going to be aggressive, technically good because he was brought up in Chelsea's academy as well. Different experience at many different teams in different leagues. Reliable, understands the Premier League perfectly well. He's aggressive, he can get forward, he's pacey. He'll be available on a free transfer for a few years. Ola Aina, if you want to put your money elsewhere on a Balliver, a Florian Wirtz, would be a very smart option and definitely an upgrade on Nunes, and definitely an upgrade on Rico Lewis as a right back option. I'm not going to tell you he's world class, but I'm going to tell you he'd do a really decent job if City were to secure his services. And finally, and definitely not most least, if you want an overlapping fullback, which seems to be the options on the left back role for me, Antonee Robinson, the American international, 27 years old at Fulham. He's gone from strength to strength there, and he's brilliant. Look, if you look at his stats compared to other Premier League fullbacks per 90 minutes, first in crosses, first in accurate crosses, first in assists, second in successful attacking actions, second in key passes, third in passes into the penalty box, and third in chances creation ratio in terms of passes. Those really, 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 really impressive stats. Absolutely brilliant. People talk about, Milos Kerkez and people like that, but he's created more chances per 90 than Kerkez, more crosses per 90, more tackles, more dribbles, and won more duels, and more clearances and more interceptions. So this guy is essentially what Kerkez might end up being. Obviously, he won't be cheap, but probably not as expensive as Kerkez right now, given he's the hot young thing. It's Antonee Robinson who leads the Premier League ranking for open play crosses this season, 135. Kerkez, the current hot thing, is only got 83. So, and guess what? He's got more assists than Fernandes, Palmer and Odegaard this season. If you want an aggressive, attacking, technically good and strong, physically imposing left-back option when Vardyol's doing your technical thing, you could not do much worse than Antonee Robinson at Fulham. These guys, be it Frimpong's attacking ability or the aggressive approach of someone like Munoz or Ola Aina on the right back, or someone like Tino Livramento who's a complete fullback, or Kerkez or Antonee Robinson, these guys would bring so much to the side, or Cambiaso with a technical ability. Personally, give me Livramento and Cambiaso and I'd be absolutely buzzing. Both versatile, both different and both cracking, but I'd be very happy if City signed any of these. Look, I'm sure you're going to name some young French fullback I've never heard of before, but these are names that feel reasonably realistic, that are a little bit different. Let me know who you want to see. You might laugh at some of these names, you might do, but it's just some suggestions here, Let me know what you've got in the comments below. Check out the other videos on the channel as well. I've done lots of different content during the international break. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Give the video a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you very soon. Up the Blues.